Hey everyone, it's Caitlin, and on today's podcast of Riddle Meets Its Match, episode 1, we'll be talking about romance, deceit, and fortune. And yes, you heard me, we'll be talking about that romance. The book you will hear about today is a New York Times bestseller called The Inheritance Game, written by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I hope that in hearing this podcast, you'll be encouraged to read this book, and if not, that's okay. Alright, let's get to it. Our main characters are Avery Grams and her stepsister Libby, and drumroll please. The four dazzling, dashing Hawthorne brothers, Nash, Grayson, Jameson, and Xander. For the basic plot, you'll be surprised to know that Avery Grams is actually really smart beyond her peers, but she lives very homeless, like she lives in a car. Until she receives generous amounts of money from a deceased Tobias Hawthorne. But the catch is, in order to claim the money, she must move into the Hawthorne house for a year to claim the money. Yes, I know you're all shocked, but before we go on to the next thing, I just want you to take in the moment. Sit back and relax. We'll be back in a moment. Alright, we're back and let's talk about one of our most important main characters, Avery Graham. When reading this book, I describe Avery Graham as a logical thinker who sees beyond the image. So whereas people would look and would just look plainly at the image, she looks beyond the image to figure out clues and riddles, and she's very daring and curious. I'd say it's almost as if she's like a detective or someone with a high IQ that solves things that others would miss. And in the book, that she is described like this very often. One of the sad things about my character, Avery Grams, is she's facing an internal struggle from her deceased mother. Basically, her mother, when she was a little kid, used to give her puzzles and riddles to solve about every day. It could be finding her toothbrush or what she was going to eat. She would always have a puzzle. And when her mom died, she was kind of left on her own. She rarely doesn't even want to live with her stepsister because she has problems with her boyfriend. And that kind of makes her have problems with reality, and she's struggling to realize that what if maybe all the puzzles her mom had her to do wasn't real to reality, or either it was. Well, with all that sadness, I'm glad to say that earlier I did say we were going to talk about love, and I'm happy to say that we're talking about it now because our character Avery Grams has some confusion. And I know you're probably wondering what that confusion is, and I'm glad to say it's about love. Basically, without spoiling all the good parts, she likes two of the Hawthorne brothers, and she really can't choose who she likes. One of them's protective, and one of them's manipulative and curious, which goes really good with her character. So instead of choosing, she kind of wants to get them both. And let's just say she doesn't really fix the conflict herself, but someone does it for her. And I can't spoil the rest. You have to read the book if this is interesting to you. But that's basically her conflict of love. And even though our girl, she's flirting with these Hawthorne brothers, you would think she would act pretty, good with the others who live in the house. But no, it's the exact opposite. She's like, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. And yeah, so basically, if she's talking to them, it's either because she's analyzing for clues or she's trying to find something from her past. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, folks, we can talk about the most important parts of the book, which is the foreshadowing and repetition of main ideas in the book. Knowing that Tobias Hawthorne is claimed to be dead, the foreshadowing of the hidden clue, and I quote, says, "Find Tobias Hawthorne," conveys that Tobias Hawthorne is actually alive, and that what everyone in the Hawthorne house believed was true could be a lie this whole time, which ties to the topic I was telling you all about earlier, deceit. Another important element that the author uses in this book is repetition of the phrases, and I quote, "Never lose your heart to a hawthorn," and also the quote, "You're the glass ballerina." These two phrases that are repeated emphasize Avery's close relationship to the Hawthorne brothers and in her involvement in the puzzles and riddles inside the Hawthorne house. These things further contributes to the lore and involvement of Avery living in the Hawthorne house to gain her fortune. And I know that these two quotes may seem weird, the fact that they're repeated and you may not understand what they mean, but I can promise you, if you're already liking this podcast and you're reading the book, these two are very heavily related to the lore and are very important in the story. For me personally, I feel like in this book, the motif of riddles slash games and puzzles is most important in this book because it helps explain how Avery is able to adapt to the Hawthorne ways and uncover or solve things that she didn't know before regarding his situation and family. It is also relevant to the section of the book where they are trying to figure out why she was chosen for the will when she's not a direct heir because the letters suggest that maybe she is related to Tobias Hawthorne and is special. Alright, guys, I'm pretty sure you know that with every book comes a theme, and I'm glad to say that for this one, I feel that the author of this book is trying to convey that when opportunity is sprung on you, you have a choice to let it influence you for the good or bad, but in the end, how you let the situation and outcome affect you is purely based upon yourself and your decisions. In reading this book, I felt like it was really good. I highly recommend that you read it too. Because, with the chapters, it's a pretty lengthy book. It's like 300 pages, but it's nothing major that you can't handle. The chapters are very intriguing. The first few chapters, I can't spoil it, but it's kind of like the background of what you need to know for the later chapters. It was, had a lot of good romance. And I feel like it was good with the cliffhangers and twists. There were so many, like the book leaves you off of the cliffhanger. It was so good. I really highly recommend. Well, alright guys, this wraps up the first episode of Riddle Meets Its Match of me talking about the book, The Inheritance Game. I hope y'all enjoyed listening to me and I encourage you all to read the book, and if not, that's okay. Have a great day. I'll see y'all in the next episode.